So right behind me is what was Sunwa Fruit, yet another one of the fruit and vegetable stores in the neighborhood. As I say there, I used to do my own shopping all the time there, run by a small family. They were there for decades and got a pretty shocking notice about a huge rent increase and eventually an eviction so that the owner could redevelop to what's probably a more profitable land use, some kind of a restaurant or coffee shop that's going in there.
I feel very hurt, yeah, because I work here 27.
It's not an uncommon story in the city. A building gets sold, and then a local fruit market like this one has to pack up their bags and go. In this case, it's the Sunwa Fruit Market at the corner of Augusta and Baldwin in Toronto's Kensington Market, a location it's called home for decades.
And that's the trend that we see in this neighborhood everywhere, where these kind of family-run businesses selling fresh fruit and vegetables, selling meat and fish, can't afford increased rents, and the property goes to become some kind of a higher-end commercial operation. One of the really dramatic changes we've noticed is the steady loss of stores that sell fresh fruit and vegetables and meat. And it gets replaced by bars and restaurants. It becomes much more of a bar and restaurant kind of neighborhood where people are going out for entertainment, as opposed to a neighborhood where you'd buy fresh food and you'd live here. And those changes have been quite consistent, where people have been losing their housing and small store owners are losing their shops all the time. Trying to put a cap on that so it doesn't just become another entertainment district. It's got to be a neighborhood where people can live and work.
Toronto is a global city. Global cities face the challenge of the rising costs of land. And in a global city with a lot of pressure on development in the center, land costs rise even faster. We're finding that a lot of the demand right now is in areas that have been traditionally undervalued, areas that have been occupied, for instance, by disadvantaged communities or new immigrants to the region. And so the types of businesses that are being displaced in Kensington Market are the mom and pop businesses. It's the fruit and vegetable markets that are really going out. Many of them are right now being replaced by chain stores and by cannabis stores. So there's a huge amount of pressure on these pockets that are left. And some of them, like Kensington Market, have a huge amount of character and still have a community that's intact, and social networks and deep histories at risk of being lost.
Certainly, gentrification is really apparent in Toronto, and it feeds into the affordable housing crisis that we're facing, where even people who have middle incomes are having a struggle finding affordable rental housing. The issues around community land ownership, particularly around the pressures of gentrification, have always been in discussion in Kensington Market. The Challenge project started in 2019 at the School of Cities as a way to really focus on developing networks across the university and across Toronto and its region. So it wasn't started as a research project per se, in the sense we were generating research data, but more actually building really interesting and nuanced networks of faculty and graduate student researchers across the university, as well as building relationships with community organizations who are doing interesting work around affordable housing. The role of the Affordable Housing Challenge project in supporting the Kensington Market Community Land Trust was really based in values of ethical university community collaboration. And so it was our intention from the start to really let the Kensington Market Community Land Trust guide us in terms of how we could support them.
The support that we've received is just tangible. One thing that has been really important is the connection we have with the Affordable Housing Project, and the beauty of seeing academic ideas turned into wisdom, turned into action.
But we also couldn't do this without the kind of support we get from a broader network of land trusts, which is developing in the city and across the country and internationally.
None of this would have happened if the tenants hadn't stood their ground. And there are thousands of tenants across Toronto in particular, but the problem is spreading, that are fighting for their homes. And sometimes that fight can feel like you're just you're just doing it for yourself, but you're not. And it's a really, I'm very frustrated at how much we lose in terms of energy, people just fighting to stand where they are. But there is, this is a story that starts with people, defending the right to stay, the right to be in the city, and so that's a huge contribution that people are making.